Movie critics, movie analysts, movie reviewers, or whatever we want to call ourselves, we love to hate the things you love and love the things you hate because having different opinions is the devil and needs to be expelled immediately. I hate fun. It's as simple as that. I hate Despicable Me 4, Kung Fu Panda 4, Moana 2, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, you name it, and I probably hate it, unless I don't. Well, today, that's not the case, because out of nowhere, Peak came in and swept us away from the hyper-realistic lions. Sonic 3 honestly did what I thought was impossible for a specifically PG-rated bring your kids to see this movie. To give some background, the only things Sonic I've consumed are memes, the previous two movies, Sonic Origins, which I didn't like and refunded, and Sonic Frontiers, which I still haven't finished. So, I did not know, spoilers in 3, 2, 1, that there was child murder, the moon getting lasered, and a complex backstory with a sense of emotional grasp about grief and what revenge really is in the sequel to the sequel of an almost failure of a movie about the blue hedgehog that runs pretty quickly. I mean, how could I have expected that? Now, I would also like to include that, as I just said, I don't know much about Sonic besides the really confined closet of the random video game knowledge in my mind. So, if I get any comments telling me that in the games, something is different, or actually the games lead to a different outcome than what is shown in the movie, I want to make it clear again that I don't know any of this and that this video is specifically about the Sonic movie. If you still decide to comment some, in the games, nerd emoji, comment in the comment section, I guess, I will kill everyone within a 25,000 mile radius, sparing nothing but animals. So if you don't want me to brutally massacre you and your family, I would recommend not commenting that. But instead, just comment whatever is on screen right now. Just put something there, editor me. And make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy. Alright, so with that all said and out of the way, it's time to make a bit of a change to my regular how to write format because I want to talk about how Sonic the Hedgehog 3 explores the 5 stages of grief. So for the people unaware of what the 5 stages of grief are and what they mean, it's a list of different feelings people go through when losing something or someone. The list fluctuates depending on a person and it's not going to be the same for everyone, but the most popular list of what people go through is in this order: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. Everyone is different, and that means it's different for everyone, and the way they process loss, but this is our basic outline for what this video will be talking about. Let's do this. So I think probably one of the movie's greatest accomplishments was introducing a sense of backstory that we will learn along the way in the very first scene. Now, it is a risk at putting something this dire in the beginning of a film, especially when it's the first scene, but this movie lets it work by this being the reason Shadow wakes up, because as we learn later, some pain never leaves us. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Besides this absolutely insanely hard shot of Shadow running across the water to Tokyo, I mean, it's just beautiful, we are introduced with the fact that Shadow has a problem with Gun due to his immediate hostility towards Sonic and friends when they jump out of a Gun helicopter just a second ago. After this, we get to witness Shadow's power against them, and then he runs away and tells them not to follow him. Alright, so with what I am calling the beginning of the movie, we are given lots of different clues towards what Shadow is doing and why he's doing it. Skipping ahead, the film allows us to see a bit of his backstory when he gets to the lab and his connection with a girl named Maria. We learn that he does actually have a soft spot, but before Sonic or anyone is able to help him through his grief, someone from his past comes back to spark up an answer of how to get vengeance for Maria. Gerald Robotnik was also there during the explosion that killed Maria, and is her grandfather, and as we learn later, has the plan to destroy all of Earth and themselves to get back at the world and its harshness, because that's what Robotnik believes Maria would have wanted, and he manipulates Shadow's desperate grief into thinking that this is the way things have to go. The movie tackles a lot about loss and its effects on the people who experience it, and believe it or not, grief is not a fun experience to feel. So it's believable that Shadow did not question the destruction of the entire Earth when the last person he thought he could trust, who is grieving too, thinks that there is a way to make that grief stop, even if that means everyone, including themselves, has to die. Obviously, you don't know this full plan at the time of when he says this and when they first meet, but this is what is later on confirmed to be the conversation they had. This whole scene corresponds to bargaining. Shadow, and I guess Gerald too, have held on to this pain for 50 years, and it's shown that Shadow still gets flashbacks and thinks about if he could just have more time with Maria. And sadly, he has no way to combat his emotions. When Shadow is given the opportunity to get vengeance, it's a sort of bargaining they have together, where they might not be able to change the outcome, but they might be able to do something to pay homage. Bargaining is usually when someone starts questioning their god or someone else if there was a way to have one final moment or one more time with them, but I feel like their plan to get back at the world is a form of bargaining with the fact they are taking control over the world's fate in order to move on. But you might be wondering, Enchanted, I thought bargaining was the third stage in the 5 stages. What happened to denial and anger? Well, to remind you, not everyone goes through the stages of grief the same, but to understand more about denial and anger, we have to go back in time by 50 years. The moment Maria is killed is the exact same moment denial occurs. It's a small scene, but just like how Sonic tries to wake Tom up after Shadow punches him really hard, they go into a state of denial that the worst might have actually happened. Sadly, in Shadow's case, Maria is killed by the blast, and it's too late to save her, even though he's too in shock to realize that she isn't coming back no matter what he does. This denial shortly after turns into anger because Shadow is locked away by the humans, even though he did nothing wrong and caused no harm. He was just trying to live his life, but the higher power of the government stepped in and denied his right to live, and in doing so, locked him away for 50 years, with only the anger and sadness of Maria's death to haunt him, which ties us right back to how the movie begins. Shadow's anger does not go away throughout the movie. It honestly goes together with Shadow's depressive state too, where he can't help but feel constant pain over her death, and thinking he could have done something different to save her. Shadow on the outside is very aggressive to Sonic and friends, but as we learn later with Shadow and Sonic's talk on the moon, Shadow has never accepted her death and moved on, and reveals that he is still deeply saddened by her death on the inside. Thankfully, even though Shadow thought he could solve his problems by eliminating one entire planet in the Milky Way, Sonic proves to Shadow that he can move on from loss, but that doesn't mean the pain will vanish. It's important to realize that loss will always hurt, but that shouldn't discourage you from losing out on all the journeys life will take you on. Now, to think Shadow accepted and moved on from Maria right then and there would be highly doubtable, but the good thing is that we are left with hope that Shadow will be able to move on at some point and learn to accept and reflect on the experience, even if he can't do that all right this moment. Now that we've analyzed Shadow, to close this video off, I can't forget to talk about Sonic's piece in this puzzle. When Shadow hurt Tom, Sonic entered denial. He tries to wake Tom up hoping that he's still alive. Obviously, it's revealed that he is, but it's uncertain at that specific moment. Sonic's denial turns into rage when he understands that this was Shadow's doing, and tries to get back at him by not only hurting Shadow, but hurting Knuckles and Tails because he demanded for the Master Emerald, which broke their vow they took together in the previous movie. He skips over the section of wishing he did something different and bargaining and goes straight into his confused anger and depressed state where he thinks killing Shadow will stop his grief. Sonic almost kills him until realizing the message Tom said to Sonic about his heart, and that stuff is going to happen, but you just have to push on. This is when Sonic learns to accept Shadow and realize how similar both of them are. This leads to the moment that I knew Sonic fans were coming to see. All jokes aside, Sonic 3 is actually really good and had a really shocking message about how, and I quote, "there are no winners with revenge," and how it tackles loss and moving on from it. I would also like to say that I think anyone thinking Mufasa is going to be the movie they should see. First of all, I have no opinion on the actual film because I refuse to watch it. And second, Sonic 3 is without a doubt more deserving to see on the big screen because of its passion to actually be a film and not exclusively a cash grab. Speaking of Mufasa, I will never make a video on it, so do not ask me. If you enjoyed this divergent from my usual format, let me know in the comments, and I would much appreciate a like and subscribe if you're feeling generous and want to see more just like this. Happy holidays, and especially Merry Christmas and happy first night of Hanukkah to everybody, because this video is releasing on December 25th. Thank you everybody for watching. I'm Enchanted. Bye.